Hello and welcome to yet another Hello America's What's Cooking. My name is Xenia Paula and I will be your host for this live chat again. Just to remind everybody, we are here live on LinkedIn Live every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And we are basically sharing what's new and on the ground in the Americas region from our member and association community. We have the opportunity for everybody to ask questions and say hello. So please feel free to use the chat for that. And then without further ado, I am welcoming my today's guests, Ken Torres from the Quintana Road Tourism Board, who is the U.S. representative. Welcome, Ken.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of our CEO, Dario Flota, and our Director of Meetings and Events, Rocio Gonzalez, and the whole hospitality community in the Mexican Caribbean, I would like to thank first ICA for allowing us to be on the show today, and to each one of you that are taking part of this broadcast today, that you took your time. Much appreciated for it. Again, my name is Ken Torres. I'm Director of Business Development for the North America area for the Quintana Road Tourism Board. The Quintana Road Tourism Board is the umbrella organization of the former Cancun Bureau, Riviera Maya Bureau, and the Cozumel Bureau, all integrated into one with the branding name Mexican Caribbean. So as we go forward and you see the letters or the name Mexican Caribbean, that means every destination with the state of Quintana Roo, starting with Costa Mujeres, Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, Riviera Maya, Cozumel, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you, Ken. And you kicked us right off with your intro. You mentioned Rocio, who unfortunately cannot join us today live, but she is watching from the back end. Sorry, you are not feeling too well, Rocio, but thank you for joining us on the back end. And Rocio was actually a guest on our live chat last year. And she was sharing a little bit about the exciting developments within the Mexican Caribbean. Just to remind everybody some of the highlights, could you recap some of what she said and how far Quintana Roo has come since?
Yes, since Rocio was in your show, I think it was about 8 months ago, some things have remained, like our strong protocols for health and safety, same as our hospitality service and spirit. That will never change. But we have had a lot of great new developments, and I would like to share some of them with you. For example, we had in 2021 about 13.4 million visitors compared to about 8.8 million visitors in 2020. So that was a big increment right there. The same thing with airline seats. We are forecasting for 2022, based on what the airlines are telling us, that we're going to have about close to 16 million seats in 2022. You divide that by 4, that's about 4 million seats per quarter. In 2021, we had about 14 million seats, and they were pretty much at capacity. So that is a great thing. Not only we're having more airlift, but we also having more bigger planes, because some of those bigger planes are not flying into Europe and Asia due to COVID. So we're getting the benefit of that. We are projecting for 2022 again about 1,840 weekly flights, with about 39% of those, actually about 40% of them coming from the U.S., from 99 cities worldwide, and from about 39 cities specifically from the U.S. Just about every airline. So you have a preference carrier, chances are it's flying to Cancun or the Cozumel airport, so you can keep loyalty to your programs. The other stuff that was very significant is the development of new hotels. Since Rocio was with us 8 months ago in this show, we have opened, or in the process of just about ready to open, about 10 new properties. Some of them are like the Hilton in Cancun, which will have about 715 rooms. The Hilton in Tulum with another about 735 rooms. The Conrad Hilton, again in Tulum, with about 340 something rooms. the Hotel Escaret Arte, which is 800 and something rooms, the Planet Hollywood with over 1,000 rooms, and the Secrets Moshe, which is about 140 something rooms, just to mention a few. So the explosion of the new hotels and new inventory has been very significant also since Rocio was in the show. And again, each one of those properties, being brand new, has the state-of-the-art guest rooms plus state-of-the-art meeting space. Not one hotel today is built without meeting space in the Mexican Caribbean, taking in consideration the criticality, the importance of the meetings and events market is for us.
Every time we have somebody from Mexico on our show, I'm amazed how much positive development is coming out of your region. And before we go into some more details, which we chatted about before, I just wanted to share with you there is a very warm welcome for you from Ottawa. You have some fans there, and it's a great pleasure to also welcome our CEO of ICA, who is also watching today's show. So thank you very much, Santo, for joining and for applauding to the community engagement. You mentioned a lot of new hotels, a lot of new flights, airlifts, but you also mentioned the word that each of those venues have meeting facilities. As the US representatives, what are some of the challenges you are seeing from the US meeting planner perspective, and how does that affect the business going towards the Mexican Caribbean?
Sure. Let me start by sharing some of the trends because that kind of piggybacks with your question a little bit. Some of the trends that we have observed, it's first of all, the trends from the CBB perspective, we had, based on the report that we get from the CBN platform every year, we had a growth of about 104% of new RFPs for the Mexican Caribbean in 2021 versus 2020. And we also had about a 70% growth in actual bookings of some of those RFPs from 2020 to 2021. So it was a very healthy exchange of RFPs and closing of business. Also, from the meetings planners perspective, the trends that we've been looking is that usually in the Mexican Caribbean, the bookings were anywhere between 1 to about 11 or 12 months. Today, we're experiencing bookings from 12 months and further down. So that means that a lot of the meeting planners, especially from the US, are looking more into the future. And what it does to us is we're increasing the pressure of the rooms inventory. And I think the reason for that is that now that we have bigger hotels with bigger meeting space, and as you know, in the Mexican Caribbean, the meetings are tax-free as long as you have a meeting component to it in a meeting room. So I think that and the fact that we are now diversifying in the markets, not only incentive, but other type of market segments like financials, medicines, et cetera, is contributing to this percentage of increases in the area. So that's pretty much it in the reference to trends. Also, we've noticed that about 91% of all the meetings, going back to the meeting space, are using meeting space in room. 2, 3, 4 years ago, it was a lot of incentives meetings where there was actually not a whole lot of need of meeting space. So now we have a lot of meeting space that go with that demand. And finally, in trends-wise, from the meetings planner's perspective, we have shifted our geographical area. We used to have the strongest demand from the Northeast in the Northeast states. Now, the strongest demand is coming from the Western state, about 27% of all the groups that we have in, based on the report, and also about 26% from the Midwest. Then the Southwest, Northeast, Southeast, pretty much equals at about 16% in that regard. In reference of the challenge that the meeting planners are having, when you are dealing with an international destination, the number one challenge, in my opinion, has always been loss in translation. Communications is a very, very key issue. So I'm not saying anything new to the meeting planners that are in the audience, but make sure that when you are dealing or communicating with any of these hotels or representatives, you have everything in writing, you have a follow-up, because what a word in English to us might be a word in English a little different to them. Although in our destination, the joke is that there's more speaking English people in Cancun there are in Miami. So a lot of people understand the language and talk the language, but again, you can get very easy lost in translation. We have been very fortunate that we were the first destination that opened an office in the US just for groups and events. So our communications with the meeting planners have been a little bit more effective and more faster, not only communicating with them all the changes and the expansions, et cetera, of the destination's infrastructure, but also assisting them with the RFPs between the hotels and the questions that they might have. The one thing that I always recommend to the meeting planners is start with the bureau. Don't bypass us. Because if you bypass us and start with your regional salesperson, which are fantastic, and the different hotels offices and your relationship are totally understandable, but get us included because sooner or later they come back to us saying, can you help me in this? I didn't realize that this place was here, or that this law was here, or this was an issue. And sometimes it's too late for us to really engage and really help them as much as we want because we were not engaged from the beginning. So please keep that in mind. It engages from the beginning. We're here to help you. We are not a membership bureau, so we don't really have to report to the hotels. We report to you. You are the customer.
Talking about the role of the Convention Bureau, and I'm encouraging everybody in the audience, please feel free to ask any questions while we have Ken here. We still have a few more minutes for any questions from the audience. Have you seen a shift in the last 2 years in terms of the role you as a bureau are playing, and how much more successful you can help meeting planners have better meetings?
Yeah, again, when you're dealing with a foreign destination, you really depend, I think, more from the bureau that you depend if you're doing a domestic booking event. And the reason is because you pretty much are more familiar with the domestic products and service, and they're pretty much very, very standard. And not that our products and services are not that standard. In fact, they're a very, very high standard. But again, you can get a little bit lost in that translation. For example, a lot of the measurements are done in meters and not in feet, et cetera, et cetera. Little things like that make a little bit of a difference. So the bureaus the meeting planners are actually reaching more to us every single day, helping us in those questions, especially when it comes to protocols of safety and health protocols, especially when a brand new hotel is being built and has not been finished up and they're ready to put an event there. They always want to give our perspective from that reference. Also, because we have so many diversified products and so many diversified hotels, which is a blessing, from all-inclusive to European plans to family-friendly to adults only, and to both on the same two different buildings in the property, and so many DMCs and venues and attractions that they really depend on our recommendations based on the limited of time that they have within a 3-4 day program, due that our venues in our attractions are so many that literally you can spend 2 weeks and do not repeat the same attractions, from incredible archaeological sites, prestige, beautiful beaches, water sports, golf, shopping, restaurants, et cetera, et cetera. So in that regard, they do. And the same thing goes for anything that has to be with transporting materials for exhibits, et cetera, et cetera. They depend for us in that, and we are very glad to help in any way we can.
And you preempted my next question quite a lot, but is there anything else within this diversification of your product and offering and services which you would want to highlight and you haven't mentioned yet as one of the key opportunities for Quintana Roo in the next few years to come?
Well, are you asking me in the reference of growth of the infrastructure?
Yes.
Well, we again, as I mentioned earlier, we just opened and about ready to open about 10 new hotels within the last 12 months. It seems like that trend is going to continue. It looks like a lot of people are wanting to come to the area, which it's a great thing. It looks like the area of Tulum and south of the Riviera Maya is being developed very, very fast with incredible new properties. Some of those properties, they range from 100 sleeping rooms to 3,000 rooms, and some of them range between maybe 1,000 square feet of meeting space to up to almost 300,000 square feet of meeting space. So that trend will continue. From our perspective, from the Bureau end, what we're trying to do is trying to get as many tools as we can to support the meeting planners in any questions they have, being legally, being immigration issues, being customs issues, not just helping them with the hotels and the site inspections and hosted buyers and FAM threats, which are very, very important. I encourage everybody to participate in those because that will be a big eye opener on the product and services we have in the destination, but also in other items that might be of interest to the meeting planner, especially the third-party meeting planners that do not have the resources to get all the information.
And this is actually going back to a question which was just put in the audience about those legal questions and the services you are offering to associations. How are you supporting meeting planners in terms of force majeure regulations? And I know you already mentioned some of the legal and safety protocols, etc.
Well,
is there any kind of procedure you have in place? Any tools you're offering?
Well, that's a very good question. First of all, and I should have mentioned this earlier, we are a government entity, so we cannot enforce force majeures or any kind of legal document between the client and the hotel. We can actually assist in any way we can, but the hotels are the ones that have that in place. What we have noticed is that the hotels have been extremely flexible in some of their cancellation policies, some of their force majeure policies due to the event of COVID and the fact that they can, some of them allow the meeting planners to rebook with a certain amount of time. Some of them are very flexible on the attrition programs, et cetera, et cetera. When I meant about legal stuff, I meant that if the association, the meeting planner needs some information or needs some kind of a legal information or representation in the area, we will very happily supply the information, but we don't really get involved in it because the fact that we are, like I said, a state government organization.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. And hope, Peter, we did answer your questions. I do know that it's very difficult as a neutral body to get involved. But from what I can understand, what you just said is that you have been very successful in mediating to find solutions which are beneficial for all parties, I guess, for your local supplier and vendors, as well as for the meeting planners to just come jointly to a mutually beneficial solution. So before we get go for today and before we finish our live chat, is there anything you would like to share with the viewers? Anything in particular from the Mexican Caribbean? A favorite restaurant? Favorite foods? We are on a What's Cooking show, so anything you want to share?
Well, let me start again by thanking everybody for assisting today and being part of this presentation. To be quite honest, I'm an incredible eater. I love to eat, but I'm a lousy cook. And what restaurants are my preference there? Just about everyone. Each one has a specialty plate that I like, so I go like from one to another to another. So in reference to a recipe, again, I'm not a cook, so I cannot tell you this, but I can tell you though what I think are the reasons why some of the meeting planners and buyers should consider the Mexican Caribbean. Number one, we talk about our airlift and the proximity of the airport of Cancun to 3/4 of the United States. Second, the infrastructure of hotels. We mentioned about having all kinds of brands of just about every hotel there is on the planet, plus all the different models, all inclusive European, family, adults only, and hybrids. Also, the fact that we have so many venues and attractions. You know, we have the only place where you find more than 6,000 cenotes in the planet. The incredible archaeological sites, incredible golf courses, not to mention the most beautiful beaches in the area. You know, every water sport you can think of, every shopping center you can think of, and every great restaurant you can think of. The other stuff is the zero tax value, where you can save your tax dollars by bringing your meetings to the destination. Again, as I mentioned today, you have to have one meeting in order to qualify. But if you have a master account and your event is $1 million event, you're talking probably about $100,000 or so on savings that can be applied. You don't have to wait for a check to get it in the mail. It's applied right there to your master account. And again, each hotel does it a little bit different, but mostly in the case, that is the case. Then we used to mention and describe our destination as the best of both worlds. Best of both worlds mean that you're going to have the best of the Caribbean with the most beautiful beaches, cenotes, jungles, etc. But at the same time, you have the colorful culture and gastronomy of Mexico. So it's like going to two different countries in the same trip. So that's something that's very enjoyable for the people that attend the meetings there, and a lot of them stay pre and post because we have so many little destinations for pre and post also. And then finally, which is more dear to my heart, is the Mexican hospitality spirit. When the Mexico says "Mi casa es su casa," my house is your house, they really mean it. They really go all the way out to make sure that you had the most incredible experience, and more important, that you come back. And a lot of our business for meetings are repeat business. So with that said, again, thank you very much on behalf of our hospitality industry. Thank you, Ika. And we look forward to the next one. And please.
Excellent. And I know there has been some shout outs to the seafood and to margarita recipes. You will all just have to go and visit the Mexican Caribbean. And maybe you can also find something on their website, which is mexicancaribbean.travel. Thank you so much, Ken, for joining us. Thank you, everybody who was watching. Anybody who would like to join us for one of our future live chats, please feel free to email me at xenia.p@ecoworld.org. And this is it for today. Just announcing our guest for next week, which is going to be Virginie Fisher from Destinations Canada. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.